hello everybody. Good evening. Um, it's very nice to have you with us with from your play from the very different places in Europe and in the world. And we I me and Dana Bunescu and I we are in Vanina's apartment, and Vanina just broke our apartment. So I guess we are. You can see in our houses, but like in different places. So tonight is a very special night because in this already quite long tradition of discussing with you once in 2 weeks, each 2 weeks online. Um, Tonight we have with us one of the special guests of the festival, because during the festival, as many of you know, we will organize two retrospectives dedicated uh, to filmmakers that helped us to understand more about life and about the world and about filmmaking. One of them is Chantal Akerman, and the other is Rose McElwee. And tonight, Claire Atherton, who worked with Chantal Akerman for more than 30 years, I think, or close to 30 years. She is tonight with us, and we are very happy to meet you. Uh, um, and we hope that in the future we will also get a chance to meet you personally and to have you back to Bucharest, uh, where I know that you've only been once before. Uh, and also together with Claire Atherton, we have together with us two filmmakers, Noel Pujol and Andreas Bolm. One of the films that for which they collaborated with Claire Atherton was screened 1 hour ago on our Facebook page, so you probably were able to watch it. It's a film shot in Hungary some time ago. I think it's already 10 years, no? Since you
It's 10 years. No,
um,
no, the
12,
12.
12 years, yes. It's from 2008. So um, uh, the film, the English title of the film is All the Children But One. Uh,
Mhm.
so uh, we are happy to have you with us. And also because we do this online, we have some friends and some guest filmmakers from different parts of the world. We just want to say hello to Yon Sunga from Belgium, and one of her films overseas will be screened during our festival in August. So thank you for being with us. And Tamas Almasi from Hungary, from Budapest. You already met him during a cine club that we organized some months ago. And during the festival, we screened a film called Meadow from the 90s. So thank you, Tamas, for being with us. Christina Hanes from Oradea is also here. Her first feature documentary, A Rifle and the Bag, will be screened. I think it will be the Romanian premiere in the festival, and a lot of other friends and filmmakers. So many that we cannot see all of you on only one page. And from Romania, I'm happy to introduce Dana Bunescu, who is, of course, well known here. She's the editor and sound designer for a lot of very important Romanian films from the past 15 years, from um, the death of Mr. Lazarescu to 4 months, 3 weeks, 2 days, and more recently the autobiography of Nicolae Ceausescu and Aferim. And she also co-authored a documentary that you were able to see last year in the festival together with Mona Nicoară, The Distance Between Me and Me. And also Călin Boto, who is a very young film critic, and he coordinated in the last 3 years, I think, a film magazine, worked together with students, especially from the film university. The magazine is called Film Menu. So thank you for being with us, Dana and Călin. And like always, like in the past editions of these debates, we invite you all to feel free to participate whenever you feel like. Um, but anyway, we really hope that a very organic discussion will be brought up, and you will feel whenever you want to ask or to say something, please do so. So I propose that we start, Vanina, a little bit with Claire Atherton. I would like to invite you, Vanina, to say why Chantal Akerman and the work that Chantal Akerman and Claire Atherton worked for, which comprises, I think, all the films that Chantal Akerman directed after from the East, I think, no? All her films were edited together with you, no? Claire.
Not all exactly, but it's mostly, but not
mostly.
Yeah.
Mostly all of her films. So
more. In fact, more. We began something about the non-fiction films that we continued, and that took another space with the work on the installations. But for some fiction films, she continued to work with her editor, who edited her film of before. Her name is Francine Sandberg, and but our work, it was more about taking risks and inventing new ways of telling stories. And then after I edited also her fiction films, but at the beginning, it was more kind of an underground meeting. It's true, because the first film we worked on were really video, very not very good quality, short movies. You know, she loved always so much discovering everything. So, and I was very young, and I liked technique, and I liked to discover also. So we met this way, and then little by little, and especially after Din Est, of course, we worked more and more together.
But if I understood correctly, I read some interviews with you and with Chantal Akerman in which she describes a little bit the collaboration. And if I understood correctly, you started by accident. No, you were
exactly. Yeah. Exactly, because I was a technician at the center, which was called the Centre Simone de Beauvoir, which still exists.
Sorry for the interruption. We had some problem with hacking. It's not, I don't know if it's related to One World or not, but last year there were some Turkish hackers that hacked our website with some messages, and we still did not recover our website completely. So in a way, we are a human rights film festival. So in general, we are used to being hacked, but this was, a very funny hack. If it was a hack, it was very, how do you say, joyous. It was not unpleasant. So sorry for the interruption, and sorry, Claire, for this, because we just started discussing about your beginning with Chantal Akerman. If we could just restart the discussion from the point where you were saying how you started by accident to work together. You are silent,
You are silent.
Unmute.
Okay.
Wait.
Yes.
Well, it's difficult because I was going to say it by accident, and now it's not an accident anymore. So I don't know how to begin again. No, but it was in fact, it was a very interesting question, because I think important encounters usually happen by accident. When I say encounters, it's not only with people, but it's also with a film, with something you want to make or say or discover. It's not, you can't just have thought of things before. And all the purpose of my work is to leave things happen and to come to me and discover while doing. So it was nice the way it began, the conversation, because it was like not really the way it was supposed to. Since we went to this question of how I met Chantal by accident, we arrived to this question by accident. And now I'm trying to build this accident again, but it's a little bit difficult. But, well, no, it's true that I didn't meet her in the process of editing, or she didn't want to. I didn't try to meet her, and she didn't try to meet me. I was a technician at the Center Simone de Beauvoir, and I went with Chantal to film a play where Delphine Seyrig was acting, because Delphine wanted Chantal to film it. So I helped to put the shooting, to organize the shooting. And in fact, at the end, it's me who filmed. It's not Chantal. She asked me to film. And so that's how we met. And we didn't meet in editing, and we didn't meet in a regular meeting. We just met because I was there and she was there too. And she immediately trusted me by my way of being. And so she told me, just film. And I filmed, and the more I was filming, and the more we realized that we were looking and feeling and receiving things the same way. So, and that was the start of something after.
So you were not, you did not study cinema before. Were you a cinephile when you met Chantal? Is it like, was it relevant? I don't know, the fact that you knew or not knew her films, or
in the meeting, you mean?
In the
No. I had seen some of her films, but it wasn't relevant. No, it was really a way of being, and a way of, it was really an intuition. You know, Chantal, she immediately knew who she wanted to work with, and with whom she could invent something or exchange something. And I was very young, because it was in 83, or 84, so I was 21. And I think when you begin that young, you just don't ask yourselves too many questions. You just go, and so I didn't really have the time to be afraid of filming, or to feel I just filmed as I was feeling. And that's how things got together. I think the most, I don't think, she didn't ask me if I knew her films or what I was thinking about cinema or anything. It was somewhere else.
And this was something that, let's say, this preoccupation for cinema and certain perspectives you developed in the beginning through this meeting, artistic meeting through Chantal Akerman. It was something that you did. I mean, when you started, you were filming. You were not editing the film. No, this is what you said before. So,
you mean how did I begin to edit?
Yes, let's say.
It's a difficult question, because I didn't really know if I wanted to film or to make sound or to edit. I didn't really, because I didn't really know what it was. And what I knew is that I didn't want people to explain to me how to do things. I wanted to discover by myself, because I thought it was I always thought that experiencing yourself things was much more important than to be taught. And so I really wanted to try to make mistakes, to experience, and in fact, it's when I began to edit more and more that I felt that something very strong was happening in my own body. And it's like if it was, it's not that it's comfortable, but it's like if it's a space where I can move editing. It's a space where I can breathe, where I can receive, where I can feel, putting images together and try to see and to discover and to listen to what they tell when they are in presence of each other or next to each other or after each other. It's for me, it's like something which is really very linked to living. It's like a way of living. It's like a way of talking, of sharing. And so that's why I liked it. I don't say it's always easy to edit, but it's you jump into emptiness. You go. You don't know where you're going, and you let yourself go. So it's not easy. You have to have this courage to jump, but it's not like there is something inside of me very deeply where I feel a very strong confidence about what is going to happen, and yeah, and very long after, a few years after, really many years after, I excuse me. Sorry. Many years after, I've been asked what had led me to editing, and that's when I began to think about it, think about what it means, and why I liked it so much, and that's the moment where I made the link between what I liked to study when I was young, and what was my passion when I was young, and the way I'm working now. And this link is Chinese civilization and Taoism and and Chinese language, first of all, because Chinese language is in fact an association of images that provoke signification. It's the Chinese writing is really put images together and they provoke signification, and not one signification, many layers of signification that come to you and that lead you to thinking by yourself. And also all the issue of Taoism is to work with emptiness and to provoke a space where people can think by themselves. So I really understood how the way I went and walked to cinema. It's by experiencing, discovering Chinese culture, Chinese writing. But even in there was something I saw it recently. I had completely forgotten how you say in Chinese for example, to say be careful, because I was invited in Taiwan 2 years ago and I saw it on stairs, because it was a very difficult stair, very narrow stair, and I saw the Chinese characters. It was written Xiao Xin, which means little heart, and little heart means be careful. So it's really, and to say that you want to go for a walk, for example, they say scatter steps, that somebody is scattering steps, or many things like that, or even it's the same thing in writing. You when you put the writing of a woman on the left and of a boy on the right, it means it's good because it's the mother with the child. Well, if it's good or not, that's another question. But that's that's how you write the word good or beautiful, or So everything is a question of how words are echoing and images are echoing together to share some meanings and provoke some meanings and different meanings to each person. So that's why it's not my cinephilie, I don't know how to say that in English, I think that brought me to all those things in common with Chantal. It's more this really organic feeling and need for association of images and space and work on space and emptiness and time. So I think it's a long answer, but that's, yeah.
No, it's not a long answer. It's very interesting, because when you speak about Taoism, I see Chantal's films, you know, about the place of the other, the space, the time, something like non-explanation. We have a space to do the links that you propose us, but we have the space. And it's interesting when you coming back to your meeting with her. Maybe she was Taoist before without knowing. I don't know. There is something. You know, sometimes when I'm a bit messy, but I'm like that. Sometimes we don't know in between the editor and the director who did a decision, who made a decision, how they decide to work together, but also when they edit. But for me, listening to you, it seems like you were meant to meet her and you know, with this Taoist image.
Yeah, I'm not sure Chantal was a Taoist. That's not really, no. We never talked about that anyway. But it's more how a different different path of lives can bring you together, and about who's taking the decision between a filmmaker and editing. I wouldn't ask the question this way, because first of all, I don't think it's really a question of decision. I think it's a question of how things come to you, and I'd be happy to discuss about that with Noel and Andreas, since we work together. And but it's not like if there is somebody taking the decision. It's more like I receive all those images that are really big and important presence to me when they are so strong. And the image of this film, All the Children but One, were really for me very, very strong and talked to me very deeply. And after when I began to put them together, it's just because I have the desire of trying things, because I listen to the images, and I don't try to understand them, but just to respect them and receive them, and also listen to the Noel and to Andreas, what they tell me, and even what they don't tell me, but you listen also between the words. And after you try to build something, and you try to tell the story, but because every film tells a story, it's not true there are a difference between narrative films and contemplative films. I don't agree with this. Every film tells a story. It's just a different line of telling that we build, and some are more linear, and some are more echoing, and some are more built with contrast. And there are many ways of telling stories. But to come back to the what I call the non-decision, it's more since I know that I have a very deep confidence in that we are all, in this case, three of us, really focused on the film, and we look at the film in the same direction. It's not that we try to agree, but it's like if we try to, each person on his own way, finding the right way, the only right way of the film. the only right path of the film. There is only one, and it's just a question of finding it together. And for me, when I have this very strong relationship with the filmmakers, I can leave me very, I was about to say freely, but it's not easy to feel free, because you can think that you're more free when you're alone, because nobody says that you can't do things, but it's in fact often the worst, the people, the one who's keeping you from doing the right thing, some is the one who's asking you too many questions, and it's often yourself. In fact, it's like and when I know that I will meet the filmmakers and that we will see what I tried to do together, I can really try anything and really listen to my intuition totally, and never ask myself what I want to do or why I'm doing that, and just try, just, you know, go. And then when we receive what I try together, we understand. And sometimes it's right and sometimes it's not right, but it's really together.
Yes, I'm going to continue a little bit the question of Vanina. I think it's also, like, for example, with Dana Bunescu, we were talking a little bit before the discussion, that we found some similarities in South and in Noel and Andrea's film, in certain kind of, I don't know, in the rhythm of some of the, you hear me?
Yes?
Yes.
Okay. So I think it's also a little bit something that it's interesting to discuss about the style of an editor. If in what way do you and Dana think that we can talk about a style, and in what way for the filmmakers, like in this case for Andreas and for Noel, did they work with you, for example, wanting to get to a certain kind of rhythm, or how does this look from the editor's perspective, and how does it look from the filmmaker, from the directors? I'm sorry.
Well, I think I talked enough. Maybe it's they can talk.
I think you have to unmute, Andreas. You are mute. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to say shortly, maybe, yeah, there's a meeting, of course, between Claire and Noel and me, which happened, but maybe, Noel, you can tell more about this, because you met Claire first, and then we started to work together, which is, I mean, there's a meeting that happens, so you can work together. I mean, you meet and you talk, or you don't talk, and then you start to work, and that's then again another story of a relation. So, but maybe Noel, you want to. You're mute too. Yeah.
It's okay like this?
Yeah.
You can hear me?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. You want I tell how I met Claire?
Yeah.
Do you want? Yes.
And then how we work. I mean.
Yes.
Yeah,
shortly. Yes, I will.
No.
Okay. I was a student in a film school called Le Frénois, and I was preparing my first movie, and I wanted to work with Claire, but she was in my head, but it didn't happen, because I was a little bit probably handicapped. I cannot I didn't call her, I didn't write her, but she was there in my head because she was the person who worked with film and video installation, and for me this is it was very important to have to have the possibility to meet and to work with somebody like her. And it didn't happen immediately. It was I don't know, a long time after, 4 or 5 years after, I don't know, I cannot I was in a laboratory and I was with a color correction man, and he told me, there is Claire, she's close to the coffee machine. And I say, I'm looking for Claire since years, and it was a moment to meet her easily. And I went to her, I present myself, I say, I want to see you since a long time, and I offer coffee, and we decided to meet for, it was in 2007, yes, 5 years after, 2007, to work on a film I made with another artist who's called Ludovic Burel. And there were this first work, and shortly after, I don't know, 1 year or less than 1 year, we start with Andreas to prepare this new movie, and I present Andreas to Claire, and I don't know if Claire was free at that period. We think about somebody else, but at the end, we were together, Claire, Andreas, and me, in a little studio in Saint-Ouen to work together.
Basically.
And it was like a bubble because I try to remember, but what I know is it was a small room, and we felt well immediately together in this small room. And also, since we were free, with free heads, all the time I thought Claire and Andreas were in advance than me, but because in that period, narrative were very difficult for me. I was not inside, not at all inside narrative, inside stories, but more since I come from art school and or painting or drawing, with all the time with abstract idea or with more sensation with colors. And but we were it was possible to link different comment je peux dire ça, it's like in a sculpture, different face on a sculpture to start to modulate a form. I remember like this. It was very sensitive, and we didn't talk too much also, if I remember. Okay.
I remember, no, I remember something that was, we didn't edit, we talked instead of editing. Yes, yeah, it was important, this talking. And no, it was great because we've been 3. So Claire was in front of the computer, I mean, in front, and we were in the back, which is already, but our Noel and my position changed. Sometimes I was more, a little bit closer, sometimes back, but it was yes, such a relief also to have Claire there, and she was somehow moving on in a way. I think this we appreciated a lot, or as I remember, that we go to the territory, we all know our material, but we are still, Noel and me talked about just recently, just blind. You know, we are moving on, not seeing, but this not seeing doesn't mean we don't receive the images, but it's just like really step by step. So there was nobody who said what's going to happen the next. Yeah, and that was a relief, and not even a relief. It was very particular in this way, I think.
Yeah, I think that's why Noel says we didn't talk and Andreas says we talked, because I think we talked, but in a particular way. So it means that we never talked about I never talk about what I want to do, what image I want to put after that image, never, because I really want them to receive what I try without knowing what I'm trying. Because if they know, you know, human beings are made like this, the brain is always working. So if you know, you wonder and you're asking yourself, is it good? Is it right? What does it mean? Etc. And so you try to understand and feel the editing or the part of the film, the images together, to feel them before seeing them. And all the purpose of editing is to stop the thinking machine and to open and start the body and the feeling machine more. And so that's what I tried to say right before, is that when we are together, you can really go very deeply into what you feel, because you know that you will discover it with them after. So you can go by yourself, jump into the emptiness, the unknown, and then receive together. And what I tried to say before also, but I didn't find the right word, which came while Andreas and Noel were speaking, which is a proof that words are alive, because sometimes they go away. But this one came back, is I think the worst censorship is your own censorship. So each time you want to do something, there's also always a little voice asking yourself, why do you want to do this? Is it right? What do you want to say? And it's a voice which is, I think, in everybody. And all the purpose of editing is to not to listen too much to this voice, to leave things go through your own body, and to come back and it's like when I go in the images and I try to sculpt them, as Noel was saying, it's a way of giving them back after, and so that they can discover them again, and we build the path of the film. It's really something. Editing is really a physical, organic work, and
sensual. I mean, it's of course sensual. I mean, it has to do with image and sound, but there's a kind of, not necessarily, like you said, a linear narrative that needs to be there, but there's a sensual narrative, and this is sometimes very difficult to find, especially for the director, especially in the case when you shoot, of course, close to the people, and in a documentary where, okay, it's a little bit exhausting word, but this word of you don't have a distance. So it's not even about that when we edit, we wanted to create a distance. It's just even we wanted to enter more, and different. It's like you're swimming, kind of you're emotionally inside. And this is something then, in this case, we shared, the three of us, which is it's a strong relation of confidence and emotions, actually. So like Noel said, like it's this bubble you create, we created, but all the three of us had to agree on that. So there is no way out, really. I mean, but this is precious. I mean, you work on that, and then things can happen.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, it's true that Noel at that moment used to tell us, I don't know anything about narrative, so I don't know what to say. But at the same time, she was talking a lot about, and even before the editing on the phone, she was talking to me about the red car and the gorilla.
Yeah. We made jokes about.
I didn't know anything about, I hadn't seen anything, and and she said, but there is a gorilla in a red car, and I said, what's that? But I'm always, I don't want to understand anyway. So I was very happy to be, to hear this story about the gorilla. I didn't understand anything, but I knew that it was an obsession, that was something. And also the animals in the zoo, and but it's just like images that she was throwing at me, like exactly the same way as when Chantal used to say, there is this silence in the South. What? Yeah, okay, it's not a film about the silence, it's not a film about gorillas, but it's it's images, sensation that you give to the editor, that you give to the person who you work with, and that build the film. The discussions that we had on the phone when we were before discovering the images, that they built the film, because it was so it's talking, but it's never saying, okay, we want to tell the story about this, so we will put this image so people understand that. It's never that. Never.
No. So we didn't work with cards. So what I mean, people can do, and this is also not it's like this, but there's different ways of working. So there's no cards, whatever. So we weren't organizing when we talk. We were just more like, if organizing, then to express our sensations, I think.
Anyway, it's never with cards explaining sequences or but I've worked sometimes with cards. But for example, on Din Est, we made some little cards, but it was like describing images, and it was a link between the memory and the image, which is, well, at that time Din Est was edited in celluloid, so but the writing also keeps you from always go and click on the image, and because after a while you don't feel the image if you see it too much. So I like to write some things like the portrait of the image or a description, and then when you read it, you also see the way you wrote it. You remember your writing, the color, where you wrote the thing, and it makes a link. And because the editing is really a work that works with memory, but also with memory in the sense of remembering, but also very much with forgetting. And I think I'm very good at forgetting. Very, very often I really don't know what I did, and I discover it each time, almost each time. And I think each time I see it, and we all know that we see it very many times. But I think that if I forget what I did, it's because I never do it in total consciousness. There is always a part of me who is blind, and that's why it's not that I try to forget, it's just that I forget. And I'm capable of remembering phone numbers. I remember the phone number I had when I was a kid, 10 years old. I remember the phone number. I remember many things, but I really very easily forget what image comes after another when I edit it. And I think, and that's the way of doing it. I think it comes from, well, each person is different, but it's also this way of being together, this way of building a special space in which we work, which is not a space of logic. Logic is there, but somewhere, but it's a special space, yeah.
But maybe I want to just quickly add, because what really, is there still with me, not only in All the Children But One, but also in other films then we edited. It's like the way of entering, and for me it was like, there was finding the first image, the first scene, the first image, and then building from that on. So it moved on from that. So there was never a moment to go back, actually, really I mean, of course, maybe to change a frame there or whatever, that's a different thing. But it was really actually always going on, and from one scene or shot or image to the other, which sometimes then you get stuck. I remember,
there was a point.
Days of like there, and you cannot, but it wasn't, then maybe this image you take out and you take another, but you don't go back to the beginning, for instance. I found this very particular. And this not only in All the Children, but also later, it was similar, that work like that in this very linear way, actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
Linear narration is necessary.
But you remember also there was this in all the children, we had a problem. I don't know between which image and which image it is, but there was something missing. We didn't know. Yeah. We knew to which image we wanted to arrive, but there was a hole there, yeah. And then we could build the la suite, the following scenes. But there was something missing, so we kept a black for a few days.
Yeah.
And we didn't know. And then after there was this, I don't know if you've seen the film, but the people who've seen the film will remember, I think, because it's a very astonishing image and beautiful. We found this image of the green grass and the black dog. And all of a sudden this image made the link between the two other sequences. And that was very strong, the moment that we found this. And it's true, it's the same way of feeling as with Chantal, with No Home Movie, just after this, the green shot of the guy on the bench of No Home Movie, right after the tree, the anger and the wind and the noise of the tree, which is very frightening, and then also all of a sudden there is this calm of the guy on the, and it's a green shot, and it's always reminds me the shot of the dog on the green, the black dog on. It's really images. They have this strength, they have this mystery, but they have also strength. And it's the editing is about building strength together. I mean, working on contrast, on cutting, on linking, on echoing, and that's why I loved so much Noël's remarks about the editing, because it was never about the telling of the story, even though I say that there was always a story. But what was very important was the relationship image to image, the shock, and as she said, she came from art school, so it was more about colors, about forms, about geometry. But that's narrative, in fact. Rhythm and putting things together and in contact and the time, all this is narrative, in fact.
What you are describing seems like a very special relation, like a very close relationship with the directors, with the collaborators, in a way. Like, I'm not, and this is one possible explanation for probably working for a long period of time with the same director. Maybe the fact that you get, I imagine, I don't know. This is also something that I would like to ask Dana, because she also has a long relationship, but with very different filmmakers. She works with many diverse filmmakers. I'm not sure do you have any equivalent, let's say, like, for example, Claire Atherton has with Chantal Akerman, a filmmaker with which you, I don't know, you grew during a long period of time? Or?
Yeah, I can say that Andrei Ujică is one of the directors that I work a long time with. And it's a matter of trust, a matter of feeling in the same way. I don't know, this is what I wanted to ask you, Claire, how this kind of confidence built between the editor and the director. Which are the tools that build this kind of trust, confidence, and of course,
I don't know if I can say that there are tools. In fact, it's just that I think we have to be ready to jump in the unknown together. I think
together, because they have to be two to want to jump in.
Not only the editor.
Not only the editor. Yeah. They have to be two. So I think that they have to be the same kind. Human.
I'm not sure, because I think it's just that the person has to be ready to be has to want to discover. I don't know how to put it differently. It's just that, because
I can say
filmmakers, they think they have to know before beginning to edit, or even they have to know before they begin to shoot. But in fact, they don't have to know. They have to feel and to follow a desire, and this desire has to continue in the editing.
And there is a material who need us, in fact, because it's like he's in front of us, and it's I don't know what to say, him, the material, picture and sound, who take us and who attract us, involve us inside this road. When you talk, Claire, and also Andreas, is like, there is a picture who come to me, is this Buñuel movie, Le charme discret de la bourgeoisie. Is like we are on a road, we walk, and sometimes some of us lose the shoes, but we continue to walk hand by hand, and until we don't know.
Then we are there.
Then we are there. Yeah. No, it's it's a beautiful image, and I love this film also. So, but it's I don't know if you can. I think you have. I don't know if you can build that. I'm like that anyway. So, and I think sometimes filmmakers are surprised, but usually filmmakers they like that somebody is ready to help them to take risks. You know, it's like the editors that have for me, we have a very big responsibility, because filmmakers, there are sometimes a little bit anxious about what they do, or they have a lot of pressure, or the production problems, or people are waiting for their films. They're sometimes afraid of not being chosen in festivals, or I talk more about young filmmakers, maybe more shy or more, and it's getting worse and worse also. I mean, more and more difficult to make films. So and so if we as editors we can't, we go in this fear also, and we want to make a very linear explaining movie. So I think cinema might die one day, because it'll be very dry and it'll get more and more dry. But if we're there saying, well, I just want to listen, I don't know, we don't know, let's go, let's see, let's be confident, and don't look at what I do, go and have a coffee, come back. And so things come that are not prévu, comment on dit?
Previewed.
Yeah. So and it's unexpected things happen, and that's really always a very big. It's always very strong.
Yeah, I think this is like, maybe if you say it just in the other way, in the contrary way, that the danger is to meet, let's say, an editor or even director, whatever, who totally knows, what is the next step.
Yes.
That's more the I mean, this is probably in our fears. We wish, because we are insecure, we need to get money, we need to have this, we need to do this and this and this, so we need to know. No, but where's the space we don't need to know, actually? And this is then again, I would say, also rare. You said like it's rare to meet, like also like the three of us we meet. We have this there's not even a freedom. It's just like a necessity. I wouldn't even call it a freedom. It's just
it's more. Yeah, it's true. Yeah,
basic principle of work.
yeah,
you know?
yeah. Yeah, all the process of I'm happy Andreas says that, because all the process, and I feel it very, very much, very, very strongly with the young filmmakers or students sometimes I'm working with. They always have to know what they're going to do. People ask them all the time, what do you want to do, how, why, what do you want to say? And so sometimes they arrive in editing like this, and all the purpose is just to make things go down and then it grows again. And it's so that's my, I mean, I don't know if I can talk about tools, but that's how it works. And that's why I want to teach editing, and that's why I want to continue to go teach editing in the HEAD school in Geneva, even if it's not easy, because also editors, we have to help them to have this strength. Because for filmmakers, it gets more and more difficult because of all those questions and money problems. But we have to be there to help them to forget, in fact, to forget everything they said before, even if it comes differently after. And that leads me also to the author question that we were talking about in the beginning. For me, I'm not the author of a film. No film that I edited, I'm the author. I'm somebody who edited the film and who created the rhythm and who gave the shape to the film. But I don't like to say that I'm author, because it could mean that there is a way of writing a film knowing where you go. And for me, it's more important that people understand what is editing, and that editing is accepted as a moment where you have to forget everything and jump into the organic material of the film. It's more important to give to editing all its importance than to say I'm the co-author. You understand what I mean? For me, it's not a writing. You can say it's a writing, I can understand, but it's almost a political question.
But
not a political question, but political issue.
It's more a co-author means like you have to have your position. It's more a position question there. This is not no. I mean.
We don't hear you, Andrei.
No, I was just curious if Vanina is okay, but she seems okay, yes?
Oh, okay.
It's my beer. It's my beer.
The hackers came to your house.
Yes, and throw my beer.
Yes.
But you know, it's difficult. This author, this co-author or author question issue. It's not that important and not that interesting. But it's more about to give an importance in author to author. Saying that when editing is important, so the editor is co-author. I don't like this idea, but it's because it's like if editing is supposed to be only, putting, images one after the other, and that's not. But when it's important, so it's author, and that's why I don't like it so much. And
it's a term of rights. So it's an economical term also.
Okay, yes, of course, yes. This I didn't think about, but you're right.
I think about it actually then directly. So this is why it presents kind of a value also, because we have to present ourselves with authorships, because this is like the value of how things work, especially now when the internet, there's no whatever. I don't want to enter this topic really, but I think it has a kind of this kind of power behind.
Yeah, so maybe I should think differently. I mean, it could be a.
I didn't mean that. No. But if the question comes up, I think it's a conflict of that more than of what you edit, what you enter with the editing, or what you contribute with the editing, or what the film is made. So
but beside the discussion about, or the question about authorship, there is also a very big question for someone like me, for example, like for the viewers, about the style of the film, and if an editor can have a style of his or her own. Because I'm asking you this because, of course, that you, as a spectator, you can see similarities, for example, in many of the travelogues of the essay films of Chantal Akerman that you work together, like From the East, From the Other Side, South. So there are some links that also have to do with what you were describing before, like the rhythm, the sensoriality, let's say, of deciding, based on intuition many times, etc. And really, I really noticed also a kind of a link between those films of Chantal Akerman and All the Children But One. So this is why, and it's also something that happens when I watch some of Dana's films. But of course, many times it also has to do with the directions of the films, because sometimes I think in Dana's case, I think sometimes it happened that directors wanted to work with her because they wanted to achieve a film similar to another director's film that Dana edited, for example. I think many times, at least for directors, it might work like this, but not always. I mean, it's not, it's just something that might seem like this from the outside, from the spectator.
I don't know for this question. I've always been very, very bad as knowing who looks like who, even in a family. I'm really, I never know, in some families, oh, she looks so much like her mother, and I'm really bad at that. It's just like, if it's, it doesn't come to me, this. And in fact, my grandmother always used to say, she was American, and she say, I don't understand. I just think nobody looks like nobody. And I feel the same. I don't think anybody looks like anybody. And I don't feel that any film looks like any other film. And I can't say that I see styles, because for me the films are really, each of them are really alive, and they talk to me differently, and they have a special way of breathing. And so I'm not very good at answering this, but maybe you are. Noël, you want to?
And I just wanted to say that maybe André said this, but it's more, for me, it's more kind of a common sensibility. Maybe Noël was attracted to you through what you have done, because she felt, but without even analyzing it, but she was feeling something, that something was matching with you. I mean, it's instinctive. Instinctive.
We'll ask, Noël can say it better, but I don't say it's not right. I just say that I don't feel this style. But I don't say it's not right. I don't know. But I think that what Noël liked is that, that's what she told me, but she will tell you better. But it's more the fact that I worked on fiction films, documentary, and installations, no?
Yes.
Yes.
No, but for instance, if I can say one thing, I'm a filmmaker too. And I had the first film of Chantal Akerman that I saw was South, really by chance. And for me, it has been a revelation, this film. And I had not seen a lot of films. I was an actress. I was coming from more fiction than documentary. And really this film, the journey I made in this film, until the last shot, and what I have felt there, and everything that she explains about the space and everything, yes, I understood it without words, without anybody explaining. I just felt it. And it was then that I knew that it was not that I wanted to go in that direction, but this, for me, was cinema. There was something happening there that really moved me so much as a spectator, as a human being, and maybe as a director, but I was not even dreaming to be a director then. I was on the way of my first film, but just thinking, oh, I go where I feel, and maybe I will do shit, and then we see. But finally, I'm very happy of my first baby. But so this was, I was feeling that this way, this path was very close to my way of being, and now all the people that are working with me from far away or very close way, I mean, even my students, they're obliged to see Taos. Teona, you can say it, testify it, because I say, sometimes it's so hard to explain that I just show them South already. I always have, even have South on my Vimeo in private, so that they can go and see it if, and I say, okay, starting with this, we speak. We try to put words or even bad words, but, and exactly to make them understand what you are saying, So
for South, Chantal didn't know if there was a film. She went there to do, how do you say, repérage, comment on dit déjà?
Research.
Research, yeah.
Yeah. And how, by the way, how was it with this research? I mean, because we are always talking also about how to make a film, how to finance it, and everything. She could do a film with the money of the research.
But she didn't. She went there to shoot for des repérages, comme on avec
research. Yeah.
But she didn't know that those images would be strong enough to make the film. So when she came back, she told me, yeah, we shot a little bit, and maybe if you have 2 weeks just to come and see if it's okay, if there is a film. But she didn't really know, and that's again something that proves that what I mean, that make me think what I said at the beginning is that important things, they happen by accident. Even Noelle said she wanted to meet me, but she didn't do anything to meet me, and we met by accident. So I think that's how things happen. If you are open to accidents, things happen. And for me, it's really important to say that, because in our society, more and more people are asked to know where they want to go, even in life, what work they want to do, what they want to become. Very young people, you have to all know what you want to do and what job you want to do, what and that's really very it's an important issue to fight against that, because it keeps it's like if it's closing you in a certain way, in a life which is drawn much too soon. And when you leave all the possibilities open, things can happen. If you close on by knowing really what you want to become at what age, with a plan de carrière, comme on dit, it's like nothing can move anymore. And even I think it's keeping us from thinking, and to leave possibilities open, accident to arrive. Also, it helps us to keep always in movement and to keep always thinking.
But just to come back, because I can understand from this position, when Andre, you said you find similarities to other children but one, and Süd or other works. I mean, maybe Claire did, and I agree with that. I mean, but it's not, I think, the question of a style, probably, but because I watched now again HEAD also, and I was curious to rediscover, and just, I mean, I would just say, without analyzing it, there was something, I mean, there was the sound, for instance, yeah, that it's marked me a lot. I think another work when we work together, how to work with the sound, not even how to work, the sound is even bad, but to work with the sound, or to leave the sound, actually, to create something with the sound. And then, of course, all these accidents, but then when I thought suddenly accidents, not even accidents that happen in a scene or in the length of a scene, it's just like to let things happen inside and to look again at the scene. So there's a certain length always, and this length doesn't mean that something significant will happen, but something will happen, something will break the scene shortly, and you watch it maybe a little bit different, or you move within the scene. And I think this is something that I'm not using the word style, but that I can find. But then each material is totally different. Akerman's material from ours, but it was like this looking at things and how to use it then. But of course there is a similar sensitivity and curiosity and of letting things happen.
Yeah, I would like to add something to this, to what you said. Yeah, you hear me, yeah? So first of all, it's probably this type of question that I addressed is also related to, to being a critic, a film critic, and being used with connecting the traditions, so it's something that probably for someone like me, like a cinephile who watched a lot of films, sometimes stops me from, and it's not something that I like, but it's something like that I think happens to many cinephiles. Sometimes you don't experience each film like in the freshest way possible. Sometimes it happens that you really discover it like in the third or fourth time when you watch it. And maybe for some viewers that are not watching so many films, maybe it would have been obvious since the first screening because of the freshness. So this is what I wanted to add to, and it's also something with which I would also like to invite Colin to enter the discussion immediately if he wants to, because he's also a critic, and probably he works a little bit the same. But what I wanted to add to what Andreas was saying about the let's say a common sensibility, like not a common, like the same kind of sensibility in both films, South and your film. For me, they also have, if I'm just thinking about South and All the Children But One, they also have some kind of abstract quality, like it reminds me a little bit of cinema pur in a way, although it works with reality.
Cinema
but
what?
It's
cinema what?
A cinema pur, like abstract cinema, which work with patterns, very much with patterns. Like many times, it seems like they function at a musical level. I don't know how to put it differently.
Yeah.
Like with some kinds of rhythms and sorry, not only rhythms, also lengths and. Yeah.
A brief, no? C'est une respiration.
Yes. This is also something that I find very not very, but in the same vein. I don't know how to say different. Like,
well, it's what I can feel with all what you're saying is that it's true that Andreas is right. It's something about time, but it's something about time related to the plastic aspect of the images, and it's when the image arrives. Let's take again this image of this green image, either yours of the dog with the dog or Chantal in the whole movie. The image arrives and it gets to you. What comes to you is the green. That's the first thing that comes to you and comes to your body. And then right after you see it's green grass, of home or not, and the dog and the bench and the guy, I mean, for the two, and you see that it's grass. And what I like is this very moment where you feel only the green, and then after you look and you see the dog and you see the grass and you see the situation, and then after there is something about the green that comes again, and then the image becomes interesting because it's not only a dog anymore on the green, but it's something that's echoing and that's working in your body without knowing what it's doing. It's a tree is always more than a tree. A house is always more than a house. And very often people think that editing is putting image the length that is necessary for people to understand that there is a house or that there is a tree. And I do the contrary. So maybe that's a style, but I like more saying, but I understand what you say about critic. And I read the last Cahiers de Cinéma of the last crew about critic. It's just beautiful what they write about what is critic. You should read it. It's the last paper one of I think it was May or something. I've never read so beautiful things about what it is to be a critic. Just exactly like they talk about remembering, about how you don't take notes. I mean many things that even talk to me about of editing also. So. But yeah, to come back to this, it's to what I said. It's just this time where something else happens than what the image is apparently showing.
Yes, this is also something very specific in a way to, or very much associated with Chantal Akerman's, some of Chantal Akerman's films. That are associated with hyperrealism and with realism, and it's the same like in from this perspective as is in Andreas and Noel's film. Although you have you are immersed. Does it exist, this word? Like you are immersed in somehow in reality because of the how do you say the fixitate, like the fact that you stay so deeply with and you come back to certain kinds of realities and immersions during the films. It never seems reality, not real. I mean, not it seems to go beyond in a way. It always has this kind of quality. And I think, to also say something personal, like Vanina said about her relation with yours and Chantal's Akerman's films. For me, I think this was something that attracted me since the beginning. When the first film I watched was not edited by you; it was Jean Dillman. But anyway, I continued and I couldn't stop. I think it was this quality, the fact that I was used to realism, and here was something that really resembled realism, but it obliged me to go in a not so rational, I don't know how to say, perspective in a way. And it's something that I think it's also very present in at least the non-fictional films that you made together with Chantal Akerman. And this is also something that it's very, I think, intriguing for someone from the exterior. How is it different, if it is different for you when you are approaching a fiction project or a non-fiction? Do you work with this kind of separations, or
it's not really that different, in fact, because it's of course there is a script which is written, but it's not that different. Because it's really the editing is really about creating the rhythm, and the rhythm is not only one shot is long and the other is short, or it's really about all the resonance. The rhythm is organizations of resonances, in fact. So, and I think it's the same way of receiving images of in a fiction film. But I just wanted to say for Jeanne Dielman, it's what I love in Jeanne Dielman is the fact that it seems to be a film, a denunciation film, but it's also, and maybe more than anything, a love film. And what Chantal filmed, at the same time, she knew what she wanted to film, but she didn't know what she wanted to say. And some things appeared to her really very late about all this feminist perspective. It was more about this fascination she had and this the way she liked to look at her mother's gestures. And the film is strong, and is so strong because she didn't know what it was going to approach. And she didn't film this to say that, but she filmed it because it was familiar, because something guided her to film it. And that's really with what I work is with this desire, this wanting to go, this need to film, which the filmmaker doesn't understand really when he does it, but which is very significant. And in all the children but one, the cemetery shot is very, very strong and so important, but it wasn't filmed in a particular for a particular reason. It was, you feel that it was filmed because something happened at the moment where it was filmed, and that it was strong at that moment.
But this, yeah, sorry.
No,
I was just wondering if, so you the first time you contact the images, like you enter in contact with the images, if is always after they are being shot, all of them, no? You work closely with the filmmakers during the filming, I don't know, watching some rushes?
No, I don't like, no, usually I don't, I like also to work with the missing images. So I don't want I don't want to say I need such and such image and you should film that or that, because I can't know before what the film will be. So I don't want to, like make tests. People say that they want to test the editing and to see if something is missing, but I don't work like that. But in some films and in All the Children But One, it was a case. I felt that there was more, and that they hadn't shown me everything. So I said,
what? Andreas, we don't hear you.
Andreas.
No, I didn't say anything significant. I was just remembering, and I was reacting.
Yeah. No, it's in fact, I think the green shot, the green image was image from the research. No, the motorbike was.
Yeah.
Anyway, I thought that I wanted more images, so I asked them if there were more images, and in fact, there were some research images that came after, that we looked after.
Referring to the Super 8, but
and also the Super 8 also, but also you remember the research images. At the first part of the editing, we didn't have the motorbike, and you remember?
No. Seriously, we didn't have.
Yes, because those
these were very old. Yeah,
very old images.
Yeah, very old, like 1 year before that. Yeah.
Well, yes.
Yeah. You're right.
I would also like, with your permission, to address to Călin Boto, because I know that he admires a lot your work with Chantal Akerman.
I'm here. I'm sorry. I'm just opening the window. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. And I know that he also admired Andreas and Noel's film. So Colleen, who is also a film critic. What is your reaction to the discussion so far, or what interests you in the work of Claire Atherton and Chantal Akerman most, and then in the film that she made with Andreas and Noel?
Oh, well, when we were can you hear me?
Yes, now we can.
Was it a noise? Okay.
I think yeah.
Again? So here?
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay.
Okay, yeah.
So, well, what really fascinated me knowing the work of Chantal Akerman and Claire, especially the series, this, I think, 5 films that go around festivals and which Claire is presenting, and it's especially the non-fictional work. So we're talking about from the East, we're talking about là-bas, we're talking about South,
yeah,
from
the other side, and yes.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, well, it was. I do think the films are very similar, South and All Children, but in a very weird way. I mean, they're very similar regarding the story, because it's very much a portrait of a community that's mourning a loss. Also some kind of searching for what the causes of this loss were. I really did believe that Claire had I don't know, a style or something that's recurring, but I think that's very much about what you said, Andre, about what we film critics used to do, making webs of names and traditions and this kind of associations. What I'm talking very much now, very much and very, very messy, because it's a very large question. What fascinates me about Chantal Akerman, Claire, and this very particular film, All the Children, but it's a very, and I wanted to ask this before. It's a very interesting way in which both Chantal Akerman and
Colleen, excuse me. I think there is a little problem with the sound. I mean, well, maybe you try without the headphones. Maybe we hear you better. Let's try. Like,
can you hear me better?
It's much better, yeah, because better. it was very hard. Yeah, now it's better.
But did you understand anything I said so far?
Personally, yes, but with a lot of effort. Now it's much. Now we can really think about what you are saying. Yeah.
Sorry. Well, I was saying that I did find what I found pretty striking is the similarities I found between All Children But and South, because I think that both documentaries that are depicting ways in which a community, a certain city or a smaller community, are mourning a person. And well, we had this very expanded talk about style and what Claire thinks about style and co-authoring. Maybe it's very much about what you said, Andre, about film history and what film critics are doing. And well, if you ask me, because now I want to talk about everything. If you ask me, film history is very important, but it's very unfair at the same point, because well, what we know much more about Chantal Akerman than we do about Claire, and this is something you highlighted, Claire, when you received that important prize at Locarno last year. That editing is a shadow job, it's something you do behind the spotlight. So maybe we're perceiving Claire's work quite unfair, because we know more about Chantal Akerman, and when we talk about Claire, we already are referring to Chantal Akerman, which obviously is a way of making history, but it's full of problems. And to get back a bit to the films, sorry, I lost the track. Oh, what I was saying is what I find very similar between All Children But and South, but also the entire series which Claire is presenting at different film festivals, the documentaries, and it's also a DVD. If I'm not wrong, tell me if I'm wrong, Claire. A DVD released by Icarus Films. Maybe
there are more box sets, yeah.
No? Yes, but this one I think is more recent. It's 2016 or something. It's a very candid way of representing not otherness, but different I don't know, topics, if you want. I mean, crossing some borders, and depicting in a very calm way what's happening in certain places. And well, knowing that Claire was while being in her 20s interested in Chinese culture, but also being born in America, but she moved to France, I found this very similar to, well, Chantal Akerman situations in which she had this identity full of multitudes, if you want, because, well, we all know she was a Jew, she was Belgian, but from Polish, with Polish origins, and there were all these aspects that were encompassing her films. And well, I firstly thought that Claire, that if not cinephilia, then this particular aspect of their embracing identities maybe bounded them, made them work together well, with harmony, if you want. And this is quite a similar case to All Children But, and well, maybe this is an invitation to discuss a bit about how Chantal Akerman filmed topics which were not very close to her, because many of the topics in these documentaries are close to her in one way or another, but are not immediate to her. And maybe talking a bit about All Children But, which well is a case in a very, maybe not very small, but a small Hungarian village, and how documentary filmmakers are collecting, depicting, and then Claire is editing this kind of representation of otherness.
Like very experienced film critics, you managed to raise so many big issues, big topics, not issues, big topics.
Yeah, sorry about being messy, but I had this question running in my head for the entire discussion.
Yeah. I think it was interesting listening and trying to understand. It's just that I think so one of the topics that you proposed to discuss in the end was related to the otherness, to the fact that the filmmakers go to kind of communities that are not, I don't know, familiar to them from their everyday life.
Yes, that was one.
Okay.
Yes, I tried to avoid the term familiar because
I just imagine, but it's just a supposition. Maybe it would be interesting to discuss that it's very different position for editor and directors, because I imagine that in general for the editor, especially in the way Claire Atherton described she's working, probably everything is a little bit otherness, no? Because the images were shot before you entered the scene of working with them. While for the directors, I imagine that it's a very different kind of process of transforming the otherness into, I don't know, or not, in familiarity. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, you don't have microphone. Sorry.
I like the word the otherness, but it's like, because I like in the moment when you said it, I receive it also. I mean, concerning like our film, but also other films, also of Chantal Akerman. I mean, that it actually produces the contrary. I mean, it's close, you know. I mean, the otherness at the same time, when you express it, when you do it, I mean, when you are receiving it, it's close. So it's not something, because otherness quickly we can refer to as alienation or something, you know, which is a big question today. But you're talking about, I think, about an otherness that is close to us, I guess. So yeah.
Well, maybe even this process of finding something and getting close to it, making it not being otherness, getting familiar with it, and then representing it on screen, and then showing it on the screen. Maybe even this is interesting to talk
and
about.
showing it on the screen in a way as being at the same time otherness, no? Because this is something that it's very, I don't know, it's something that I think it's very constant in, for example, in Chantal Akerman's films, but it's also, I think, applicable to your film, to Original Mad One. The fact that, I don't know, you have a kind of approach, the films have a kind approach people without seeming to judge them in any way. Like you never, no matter the topic. And in the case of South, it's about, it could have very easily go in a very judgmental direction towards some of the people of the characters that appear in the film, but it's always this kind of frontality of approach in which they seem to be approached from the same distance, from the same. They are in a way appropriated. They become like true tenderness, let's say, but at the same time they remain very on their own, themselves, not on their own in a way. Probably.
I think what you're touching there is that when Chantal films, she never wants to. The filming is always full of respect, and she never wants to close any person in any speech or any discourse or any word, and she never looks at her characters from up to down. It's always same level. And of course the other is the other, so there is this otherness, but at the same time the way of filming the other is a way of feeling and make everybody feel that the other could be us. And that's what gives the strength. When you listen to the sheriff, either in South or from the other side, the words are terrible because they're frightening, but the image is beautiful, and the human who is talking is respected. And so there is this frame and this like kind of a bubble also. And so the words come to you, and instead of judging and saying he's saying horrible things, so he's a monster, you just feel that those words are said by a human being that could be you, because we are all human beings, and that's what makes you think about what we are capable of doing, and that we are ourselves capable of doing, and how would we receive the other. So it's not the purpose of denouncing, but the purpose of make us think. And that's why those films are political films. It's not because they are linked to one subject, and particularly the border of Mexican United States, or the lynching of a Black man and racism in the south of the United States, or whatever. It's more about how how you give the possibility of feeling and thinking, because feeling leads to thinking.
And for you, Andreas and Noel, from this perspective, how is the process, for example, let's say applied to the film that we saw, to All the Children But One? Because in a way, you know, it deals with a very with a tragic situation, and it is addressed directly by the children that speak about it, about the death of their friend. But at the same time, you feel from, as a spectator, from your part, a lot of I don't know, like you approach this situation like trying to recreate a kind of naturality, like a kind of I don't know, of firesc, like firesc. Do you know how to say firesc? Like
Casual.
firesc. Sorry.
Casualness.
Obvious.
Yes, naturalness. Yes, not naturality. Sorry. And in a way, it's like it's like a very serene, emotionally, as an experience for the spectator, which is very strange at the same time. It's something that sometimes happens in films like South, for example, which deal with even I don't know, a violent death, for example. This kind of integrating everything in a certain kind of larger nature. Like this is how like life goes, like the nature works, like.
Yeah, but not the nature. I mean, this is how society works. I mean, if there's a border, I mean, in our film, I think I could receive also a border. It's a border between not actually necessarily between life and death. It is a border between childhood and adulthood.
Mm-hmm.
The way that children, so there's two territories, two very political territories actually, or the border is political, I think, if we make these terms, and then link to that the imagination of that. And I think this was a kind of maybe referring to what you asked before, about the otherness still, then there is still something you desire, and we desired, I think, also, I mean, physically, of course, you are there, you're filming, but the desire was to create an imagination, not actually an image, but an imagination of, we didn't know actually of what. I mean, of childhood maybe? Yes, I don't know. I mean, because it's close to us, we want to play with it. We want to be in this territory. So it's maybe what Claire says then quite a time before, it's actually a missing image, you know, you're trying to build, yeah, and this is driving you, and this creates also closeness. And there's another closeness also because we knew the people, we knew the village, so there's a confidence which we grew up. Maybe that might be the difference to Süd, that I think Chantal Akerman, she was the first time there, but still maybe with a desire to find something. I mean, no, that's very banal. Anyway, so.
No, but she it's true. She didn't know, and you knew the. But
you cannot hear me? Ah pardon, j'essaie de parler.
Vas-y, Noël.
Yeah. Ah oui, non, mais je parlais, mais ça réagissait pas. No, I wanted to say, Andreas, we enter a game with the children. We play a lot with them. Yes. We don't care about the age. We feel, and we felt still with 13 years, and we play with the boys, like you see on the movie, but behind, or not behind, in a center. There were Karshi all the time, and we are looking to him with the kids, and sometimes we can say this after the movie, the children know more than us about the game, or about the party we try to improvise inside the field, on the street, sometimes with them, sometimes alone. And you talk about awareness, and this awareness, I think there is different level of feeling of awareness. We know, especially Andreas and me, we have our different awareness. We use in a different way awareness from our background, from the place we grow up, and this, after this awareness, we can build together to create a picture or a situation. It's like awareness is like alchemy, and with the kids we play with words. Personally, I never understand. I feel the situation, but I never understand what they were talking about. We discover after and during the editing. And where I wanted to go now, I don't know.
You said something very interesting about otherness being like
alchemy.
Alchemy. Can you develop a little bit this idea?
It's like you mix you mix the surround, you mix your own molecule. It's like you is this all this invisible life, and the visible life you put together, or you try to connect together. And especially for this movie, because there is a missing child, and this child, he was everywhere. We find him inside the zoo, we find him on the street, we find him everywhere. And it's like he was not a ghost, but he was a presence who gives us the possibility to have a sensation or sensibility to his place, to his camarade. This morning on the radio, I heard only the sound of the Wim Wenders movie, Les Ailes du Désir. It was only the sound with the music, and it's like in our movie, the Karchi play the role of this angel. I mix a lot now with all this this presence. And especially in a zoo, if we can, I can try to tell more about this, because the first we enter the project going together with Andreas to the zoo, because we know from the drawings and from the teacher and his colleagues, during his hospital days, he went to the zoo. He went to the zoo, and we wanted to approach something very far from us, and Budapest Zoo is very particular because it's like all the time we play with this. I don't know how to say this. You know, there is this old projector RVB. All the colors c'est rouge vert bleu. C'est rouge vert bleu. It's like a zoo with RVB zoo, rouge vert bleu. Mais and the mise en scène inside the zoo, the cage and the awareness also animals have, and we were confronted, or they give to us their own awareness, who give also a ton, comment on dit un ton, ou une
tone,
a tone for our approach.
Yeah, what I feel is very interesting in how Noel talks is that it gives you a light on how we talked. It's never, I mean, she never told me, they never told me that they went to the zoo because Karchi went to the zoo or anything. She was only talking to me about the lion, the strength of the lion, and how they built a relationship with the lion and the gorilla, and you know, and all those images that were mixing and comment tu dis, une alchimie. And it's all this alchemy that made the editing possible. It's not the words of explanation, and because if Noel had told me, you know, we went to the zoo for this and this reason, and this happened and that's the link and that's what we want to say, no editing, nothing, everything is dead. But since everything is there and growing, so editing is possible. And at the end, when the film was shown at the Cinéma du Réel, I told this story before, I'm sorry, but Chantal, Noel said it's a film about the loss of childhood. And she said that she had never told me that before. And that's the same thing. If she had told me that before, instead of talking to me about the gorilla, it would have been like if I have to prove that the childhood is lost, and the work that you do, the path that you follow is totally different. And that's why that's what I like to share with you about the editing process. It's this way of, it's not only the images that are important in editing, it's in this alchemy, it's also the space that you give to the images and the space that you give to our imagination surrounding among images, or that are coming to you given by the images.
It also, while Noel was describing the process, let's say, what she understands by alchemy towards otherness, it also, for me, it made very evident the possible, how, I don't know, how it translated how I perceived the film in a way, because it's never, you know, it's never directly addressed. Something is never directly addressed. It always seems like the result of this kind of like going little by little to integrate probably what you shared between you three during the process. Like Noelle was not direct in what she was telling us now, but she induced us, or me as a viewer, she induced me not only rational things and images, but also a kind of sensitivity that it's her own, let's say. And then I imagine that you perceive it in your personal way, in your particular way, and you transfer it in your particular way to the editing, let's say, and then it goes back to her and to Andreas, and this is something that for me it's noticeable in the film in a way. This kind of it's not only that it's indirect in a way, it's also like very careful, very it comes like something very cautious, I don't know how to say, cautious toward depicting something that is exterior, like everything is in the film. And from this, something very, and it's something that I also have, it's different as a kind of sensibility, let's say, but the way it functions, it's quite similar to how Chantal Akerman's film function for me. The ones that you make together, they are also cautious in a way, but in a very different sensibility. And now, while listening to all of you speaking, I realized that no, it's not a protest. It's just that we are very hot here because we closed all the windows because there was some noise. Yeah, what I wanted to say is that I realized that it's a very, very different or a very, very particular way of, I don't know, of approaching images and working with them, which is not, I am curious about Dana's experience actually. Is it something that you find yourself in, this kind of process with the filmmakers, or it very much depends from project to project, or I don't know, in this kind of sharing very cautiously?
It's okay. It depends from project to project in my case, but the main condition is to that I should be curious about the images, about the I don't know, about the story behind the story. About what I can not what I can expect, but what I can discover, and this has to be okay. The main condition to be into the movie from the beginning until the end, to can edit.
But it's more like, it's more solitary as a process than what they were describing.
No, not at all. No. In fiction, I can tell you that it's more solitary than in documentary. When you in the documentary movies, working together, seeing together, discussing. Not specifically about the I don't know, the topic, the subject, about you can discuss about everything. It's about knowing each other, the editor and the director, and about the world that they want to discover together. So it's a matter of togetherness, I don't know, from the beginning until the end. It's like this.
Okay, so if someone else beside us has some reactions or questions, please feel free. We discussed everything, so
there was, if I'm allowed to talk.
Yes, of course.
There is this particular subject which Claire touched, and I know Dana has very interesting but quite opposite feelings about teaching. Because Claire seems an enthusiast of teaching. While Dana, I know Dana teaches for this workshop. Andre used to teach there as well.
For teenagers, for high school.
Yes. She was my tutor as well, like 5 or 6 years ago. But she's not. She has or you can speak, Dana, but as far as I know, and we discussed this briefly, in the past, you have quite some uneasy feelings regarding teaching. And I think this would be a very interesting dialogue.
So no, I think
there was somebody else who wanted to talk also, no? Yeah.
Maria. Yes.
Can I speak?
Yes, yes.
I don't know if don't you want to answer to Kalin?
Oh, I didn't understand that it was a question. I'm sorry. I didn't really understand.
It was. I think it was
about teaching.
Yes, I think you said something in the beginning, from which we understood that you like teaching. That is something that preoccupies you. And for Dana, Colin said that he knew.
I don't have the vocation, so
yeah,
no,
that it's something very different.
Yeah.
And probably that you wanted to find more about why is it so important for Claire to teach, no, or not?
Well, I thought that dialogue about the importance of teaching, but also what it takes to be a teacher in film editing would be very interesting, because we have Claire, who's an enthusiast, and Dana, who has this kind of reluctance regarding teaching, and I thought it would be an interesting. But do you hear me, or
yeah, very clearly. Yeah, it's very
okay.
well.
I don't say I love. It's not that I love teaching. I said also it's difficult, but I think it's, for me, it's almost an, as I said, maybe it seems a little bit heavy words, but it's kind of a political responsibility to share this way of seeing cinema and seeing editing. And I feel that young people, many are they need also this kind of I don't know if we can say freedom, but this kind of way of behaving with art. For me, yeah, it's important, because in schools, too often young people are taught that they have to know. It's always the same thing. And with my students, I just try to help them to agree not to know, and that you're stronger after. You're stronger when the film is built, and that you discover what it means, like for the loss of childhood for this film, or what Chantal wrote about Din Est right after, about this, what the images of Din Est were referring to. She said it much later, and it's by the process of grading that you discover. And so I didn't say that I love teaching, because it takes a lot of time. I'm doing it right now because of the crisis. I couldn't go to Geneva, so I'm editing a film and also helping my students to edit with Zoom. And it's really difficult. But when you see how the eyes are wide open and shining, when some of them understand that's they can do it that way, it's just a big happiness. But it's I don't know if I could say I love teaching, but I need to share, maybe.
Maria? No,
microphone.
Oh, okay. Do you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I want to thank you. It was amazing to hear you, both, all of you. And I also want to share this about the process that I find, but you said it all now. I think it's a special process to approach the otherness. It's through the curiosity, and also to accumulate info, like bits of info, even if it's sound plasticity of the image or whatever, but there are a lot of elements that that compose your curiosity about the other. And I think also that both the movement, also South and also All the Children But One, they have this of I have emotions. Sorry.
That's nice.
They don't have an agenda. That all what you say, the schools prepare you to have agendas before, and that's why I found them very political, because they don't have agenda in the back of the image. I mean, you are going there and you are discovering, and you don't have to have all the administrative, I don't know what a movie has to have besides the knowledge that you want to transfer about the otherness. And I think this is what you feel, Andrei, in both of them, because they are very, I don't know if I feel it all right, but I mean, it's like being political is not having control. I mean,
no, exactly, yeah.
So yeah, I want to say it's very nice what you said now. I mean, kind of gives emotionality, but the precise.
I'm sorry.
No, it's very good. I mean, this is what we're talking about.
But I very understood you very well. I mean, all of you, and I was like, wow, this is what we need. I mean, not agendas, not festivals, not.
Yeah, but still they are there, and it's important.
Yeah.
That they are there in a way. Okay, that's another maybe discussion. But just to say, because you said, Claire, that the film of Chantal was a reparage, a research. Our film actually, I mean, of course, I mean, it's a research always, but it was actually a television project.
Yeah, that's true.
So this is quite interesting. I mean, but it was a particular commissioning editor we were working with, and it was also a particular series. It was, I mean, or possibility to do this film, who had actually this freedom also to discover. So I think it's important somehow to mention. I mean, all these things need a kind of frame. I mean, a kind of financial frame, kind of production frame, whatever. But it does matter. I mean, who is behind it and working with that? So in this way, I felt now I have to mention, yeah, I mean, there was even a television frame for us. And this is very, don't want to say no, very rare, but of course, sure, it happens, but it doesn't happen so much. So if we have to apply for projects, it's a lot more concrete. You have to write everything. You have to know everything. They're not. We did. So and it was possible. And I know from other television films that happened before and even in the 80s, 90s, or we see the German television, what they produced. Yeah, this time, the ZDF, it's incredible. I mean, you cannot imagine that this is going to happen now. So, okay, but I don't want to enter too much in this, but it's important somehow because there's always like a frame around things. And this made also All the Children But One happen. But it was the frame actually of television, which was amazing. And this, no, it's normal, but it was like still particular. Yeah.
I'm sorry, but how can you, being framed by different realities around you, like festivals or television, or how can you still have this freedom of, I mean, not you, but how can you now be free in following your own, I don't know, without.
Well, you have to survive. I mean, you have to earn money and you have to do things. How can you survive? How is it possible to answer? I mean, is it a question of adapting something or not?
For example, if you are going there with a television, how can you make abstraction, being without that feeling of I need to do something. At the end, I need to have a product about the reality in front of me in order to have this reality from South, and also from all the children but one. I mean, that reality is in front of you, and you are discovering little by little of accumulation, of being curious, and without knowing that you have to deliver. You know, you don't have this feeling.
I think you have to be very strong. And I remember, I mean, that we had the meeting then, and we've been all, of course, excited. And I know the commissioning editor was as nervous as we were when she came to Paris, to this little apartment in Saint-Ouen in the banlieue, to see then together the movie. But we were, of course, also, we didn't know, I mean, what's going to happen. Yeah, but she was a good one. I mean, she was just, she understood. And then we felt, and I knew when she understood, she can argue in front of her commissioning editor colleagues and all the other levels she has to argue with, because that's her job then, and she did it just good then. But we were lucky to work with her also, I would say, yeah.
You were lucky, and it's very rare now. I mean, it's extremely rare.
I know from her also it's rare, and she's fighting a lot. She's still working, but she's fighting a lot.
What's her name?
But the more...
She's still there, and she's still, I just also 2 years ago did something with her, so it's but she's rare. Yeah, I don't think there's so many people around still, I suppose. I mean,
yeah, but the problem
you hear me?
Excuse me, vas-y.
No, because I just say she was a nice go-between inside the.
No, but we touch also something which is also a reason why I think it's important to teach, because if in the society in which we are in, the more people there will be who are sensible to this kind of cinema and this kind of way of making, of way of creating, and the more things could maybe one day change. But things are important in every level, and schools are very important. And if schools are very much changing, but the students, they need other words. So that's why I think each of us, we can share this way of working, it's important. That's there is not one solution. There is just a way of being with a kind of resistance.
And it's even the watch. I mean, it's like not even how to do films, but this is almost too authoritarian, but not how to watch films, but to watch films. I mean,
yes, exactly. Yeah.
My wish would have been always, because we worked also then in schools, like with not with film students, but with I mean pupils, like teenagers. And that was, I found very interesting, like to give them a kind of sensitivity to receive things differently. And I think, I mean, economically thinking for me then too, yeah, there you kind of find a way to sensitize people or how they can receive art or the world around them.
Yeah, because we build our own world. I mean, we can't just, so we're all responsible with it. So it's, if each person puts his stone, I think we can continue to believe. That's otherwise it's not possible.
And this is not only in the film school, so it's really, I mean, I think this kind of viewing experience, watching films or all kind of other media or art or whatever, it's good.
I think I would be discouraged if when I talk, as I talk, if people would tell me, well, okay, that's an old-fashioned way of talking, leave us alone. But when I see how young people, they're interested in this way of thinking and of, as Andrea says, of looking at art and the world, I feel that there is, that we have to continue. I mean, that's why I say it's important for me to teach. But
also, I have another question about this authorship and the idea of author, and how you connect this idea together with being political in a sensitive way, let's say.
I didn't get really the question, because the authorship, it's not that important. I don't really know. It's just I want to give. I don't want to say that when the editing is important, I don't want to become an author in this situation, and otherwise the editing is just, you know, a technique. That's all, in fact. But maybe what's your exact question?
I mean, in my head is connected like when you are not emphasizing on authorship, you are emphasizing on being collective and thinking collective.
Yeah, that's right.
And I think this is a political way of relating to reality.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Yes, absolutely. It's a way of, yeah, it's not, there is not something which is plus haut, comment on dit, higher, which is the writing of the story. No, that's even for fiction films.
And I like it also because in working with directors and the schools, you are not, they are professionalizing, I don't know, professionalizing skills. And I think everybody is there in order to be curious together. I don't know. This is for me political in a way.
And also excuse me.
No, that's it.
And yeah, so I said also that the editing is working with forgetting, but I think to make a movie, you have to be able to forget also, because to film, you have to forget your script. I mean, when you film, you have to forget what you wrote, and then when you edit, you have to forget what you shot, and then when the film exists, you have to forget even the editing, and the film grows, and it's the film that's leading you after, and the film is alive. That's why I have difficulty to say what film looks like what other film, but you know, it's something like you follow a breathing, but you forget the steps.
Thank you.
Do you have other questions or not, or interventions? Because some of you maybe you listen to us for 2 hours, and I don't know,
more
or more. Now is the time. If you want, don't be shy. Anyway, it was very interesting actually to go through all this, because it works, and it will work very much inside. Also, when for me, for example, when I will rewatch your films, I'm sure it will be, and this is for me the purpose of a discussion, actually, to not remain like when I started it. So thank you very much. I mean, I know it's egoistically, but I'm sure I'm not the only one feeling this from the audience, that I don't end it like I started, like when I started. So thank you for this, because it's really, it's a sign of sharing, you know. I mean, you shared a lot during the discussion, and I'm not saying, I just want to thank you to all of you for this. And yes, we really hope that we will also meet in person soon with all 3 of you. Let's meet in Bucharest during the festival at some point, and because
I won't. I'm sorry, but it's not possible for me to come at the festival.
Yes, we know.
Yeah,
but
it's
not the only occasion.
Okay.
No?
There are the next other editions of the festival, and we still hope that we will be able to talk with you during the festival online, you know, in August.
I don't think but we'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But so basically that was from my perspective. I don't know if nobody has other questions, maybe we stop because it was intense.
Yeah.
So thank you again very much to all of you, and yeah.
And thank you for the invitation. It was very nice to talk with you and to be in contact with Bucharest.
Yes. So come to Bucharest and be more directly in contact.
Yes, yes, yes.
The three of you.
Yes. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Bye-bye, everybody.